Okay, so we got the brand new banner information for the 2.5 banners starting out. First off, I of course have seen the rumors floating around, so I'm really excited about the weapon banner that's going to be coming out this time around, and it's going to be one of those really big weapon banners that we should all summon for. So I'm going to go talk about that, and of course, the other banner that we're going to talk about is going to be the character banner, and we're going to be talking about those things and whatever information we get. Jump into it. Alrighty, so the first thing on the list, we have the brand new banner information for the Miko banner, and it is going to be Toma. Official, finally. And Diona. Huh? Okay. Before we get into this banner, the Raiden, Shogun, and Kokomi banners have not been released yet, so I will be doing a banner prediction tomorrow on what we're going to be doing for these. And what I want to let you guys know that the next banner for character banners might actually be better. So if you were considering summoning on a banner and you wanted to build your pitting banner, build it on this Ganyu and Zhongli banner a little bit. Get a couple summons in there. If you don't want any of these 4 stars, probably the better way to go. That's a weird banner. I'm not going to lie to you. The character banner is quite weird. Toma, didn't expect that one. I did not cut my sleeve with Prime. I did not expect the Toma. I did not expect it. I had no idea why he came early here, but maybe they just wanted to put like double shielders for some reason. I'm not sure. Diona be in this banner. I don't even see that. Maybe this is going to be a story quest involving her. That's going to be some reason she's visiting Inazuma. But official, yeah, I see the synergy. Official and official 2.0 in the same banner. Oh wow, look at that. Oh my god, this is so crazy. But I don't understand why Toma and Diona are here. There's no thematic. They maybe just want to throw these characters in because maybe they think this banner is going to sell all well already because Miko's a super big waifu and they just want to throw bad 4 stars in it. Besides official, obviously. So I don't know. Diona is quite a good character though. So if you're not aware of Diona constellations and what they do, I'm not going to go too deep into this. So for Diona constellations, the thing about her that you need to know is Constellation 1 is quite nice. Constellation 2 is quite nice. Everything else until C5 is pretty much dog shit. And then C6 is way overhyped for pretty much everybody. The only character that can actually utilize the Constellation 6 effectively is Hu Tao and a melt version of her ultimate. And most of the time, what happens is that you're not even going to use this effectively. And most characters that use this are using it for like big screenshot damage. So if you're like a Tony 2 type person and you like going in for the big number, that's what it's good for. But typically no one can use this ability effectively because it has to be above 50% HP. And this is kind of like a weird thing. It's really good on freeze teams for Diona in general, but like you don't need elemental mastery in freeze teams. So for her constellations, you're pretty much good at C2 and you don't really need to go past that. Like C5 is okay, but like you don't need to go hard into constellations. It doesn't matter. For Toma, he's trash. He's garbage character. He steals your vapes on Hu Tao. It's just terrible. Constellations for him. C1 and 2 are kind of cool, I guess. The C4 is like necessary for the character in general because his energy problems are so freaking prevalent. And then when he finally does get the energy need with the ridiculous stat ratio that he never has, he does no damage at all. And his shield like breaks every 5 seconds. And the normal charge plunge attack that he is on C6 is also pretty garbage. So overall, I'm really not a fan of Toma. If I want to use a Pyro Shield character, I'm just going to use Yanfei C4. There's no way I would ever try to use Toma. He's just not good. Maybe in the future he might be, but yeah, he's pretty garbage. He also doesn't really have a weapon to work with him besides, you know, if you try to use Waybreaker maybe. And then the last character on the list, of course, is the God Fischl, who was my main at the start of Genshin, and I ended up going pretty hard on like normal attacks and stuff like that because on her, and she's quite fun. But she doesn't really get better with Constellation until C6. C6 is the only really meaningful constellations. Everything else on her is kind of like just, they're okay. They're just not super helpful. So they all do something. It's like C2 and 4 just make your elemental skill or elemental burst do a little bit more damage on nuke, which is quite nice for nuke damage. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter because her overall damage is going to be basically just from the elemental skill taps, and the extra damage that you get from the casting ultimate doesn't really help that much. So overall, I feel like C6 or C0 is fine for Fischl. You really don't get too much like out of other ones. So if you're a player thinking about summoning on this banner and you wanted to summon on this banner specifically for the 4 stars on this banner because you're missing them, sure, that sounds great, man. Go for it. Sounds okay. You do you, bro. But To be honest, I'm saying hard no on this one because there is something that's way, way better than this banner. Going for Miko in this banner, sure, she's great, but there's a way. And the way better banner, of course, is going to be the weapon banner. The weapon banner, oh my God. All the good stuff came back. We have the stringless, we have the sacrificial sword, we have the wave breaker fin. The 3 huge weapons that are awesome damage. These weapons are insane. And of course, the 5-star weapons being the Jade Cutter, which is super good. And of course, the Kagura's Verity, which is currently probably one of the best catalysts, if not the best catalyst in the game right now that is going to be going forward. Now, I know a lot of you guys were not sure about this weapon because you're thinking about an elemental skill weapon. And if you think about all the other catalysts with Genshin, the passive will do something versus the passive doing nothing. A lot of other 5-star weapons, the passive does nothing. We were doing some math on this earlier today, and we're trying to compare the damage between the Refined 5 Widzits as well as the Kagura's Verity. And what we ended up finding out is that with the Kagura's Verity, the Widzit will actually do a little bit more damage than the Kagura's Verity. Let me put this over a little bit. End up doing a little bit more damage than the Kagura's Verity while the buff is popped. But the problem with the Widzit is going to be a weapon with a 20-second cooldown. And to my knowledge, a lot of people have told me the rumors on this, but what we've heard is that when the buff of the Widzit falls off, the actual damage from the character that you'll get drops off pretty heavily. And what we're comparing here is the actual elemental burst damage on Miko, not the elemental skill damage. So on this side of things, what you can see is that the burst on the first rotation will be higher if you use a Widzit, but the burst in the second rotation will be lower. So you'll get a higher peak with a lower valley. And the thing about Miko as a character is that she is an elemental skill character, very similar to Official. And the way that you can kind of think about that for the weapon is that the Kagura's Verity as a weapon, or is it an elemental skill weapon? This weapon, getting elemental skill damage, is a unique weapon and will actually work versus some of the other weapons not actually having passives a lot of the time. So I really do think that this is a good weapon, but if you don't think it's a good weapon, I mean, that's on you. You're never gonna get a higher peak damage than Widzit. Your Widzit is always gonna be the highest peak damage for a single shot nuke, but it has a very long cooldown. And Miko may not snapshot, so you may want to use a 5-star weapon. Jade Cutter, bitchin' weapon. Problem with the Jade Cutter. There is one big problem with the Jade Cutter. And the big problem with the Jade Cutter, and I've known this because, you know, I use this weapon all the time on my Keka Wing or other characters. And the thing with the Jade Cutter is this weapon is quite good, but on characters that currently are either not really that good for people in Genshin or already have alternates like Xingqiu. So the problem with the Jade Cutter is that it's a crit weapon, not a crit damage weapon. And if you're looking at characters that can use this like Kaya or Ai, both of these characters are cryo characters. And because of cryo characters, they have problems using the Jade Cutter effectively because you get way too much crit if you're using a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer set. Now, a lot of people use a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer set because the set bonus by itself, if you just apply cryo, is 20% crit chance, which by itself is probably one of the best passives in the entire game. But if you add freeze to it, that's another 20%. But like just the cryo application by itself is such a ridiculous passive. It's worth so much value just for applying cryo to enemies. So just that 20% crit usually puts you at way too high crit value, and sometimes you're able to get away with using a Jade Cutter on an Ayaka if you were using a cryo build and not a freeze build maybe. So, but you'd have to get a really contingent value on your crit, and you would have to get artifacts that really rely heavily on crit damage, or conversely, running a 2-piece Gladiator or Shimenawa set with it. So that's the problem that I have personally with the Jade Cutter, because you have to just you have to mess around with like cryo resonance and all the other stuff, and that's just not ideal. It's good for Kazuha. I really do like the weapon for Kazuha. I like it for Kekwing. I do like it for DPS Bennett. DPS Bennett as a character is, you know, is fun, but the problem, of course, with that is low base attack, and Mist Splitter is a little bit better for him. And then the last sword user, the Traveler, is actually quite good with Jade Cutter. So if you're looking to use Traveler, this is probably her or his best in slot, so that would be quite good for them. But that's the big problem with the Jade Cutter, is that there is a limited amount of sword characters in Genshin that can use the weapon. And if you're playing Chi-Chi and you want to be a Chi-Chi main, and you just want to be a Chad Chi-Chi or a Chad Kaching main, I mean, sure, go have fun. It sounds right. But beyond those two characters, it's kind of sus. And as far as the Sacrificial Sword, as well as the Stringless, and as well as the Waybreaker Fin. Waybreaker Fin, if you weren't aware, I did make a video about this a while ago. This weapon is on par at Refined 5 with a Staff of Homa for damage. So if you are looking to use this on a Zhangling, yes, it is on par with that. It is also on par for Raiden Shogun as well. So at Refined 5, this weapon is exceptionally strong. So just know that this is a big pickup weapon if you are not if you did get Shafted on the Homa, or if you want to run a Staff of Homa on the same team with, let's just say, a Waybreaker Fin on 2 different characters, and you're just one of those players that does not want to farm the catch because, you know, just don't feel like it. It is better than the catch at Refine 1 for damage. You do have to make up some ER in the middle of it, but like when you do make up for the ER, it still is better as far as damage goes. I like Refine 2 or 3, I believe, so the stat missing. For the Sacrificial Sword, pretty much just a slingshot weapon if you want to use it, and Stringless is good on Fischl or you know, Venti, or in a couple other characters in Genshin. So the Stringless is quite a good weapon in general. Rain Slasher, I've been asked about this a little bit lately. The Rain Slasher is really only good on like 2 characters in Genshin that I can think of. First is Diluc. If you're using a vape team for Diluc, it does work quite well in here for the vapes because they're pretty much always applied with Hyro, and Hydro that does provide an EM bonus as well as a damage percentage bonus at the same time. So it does allow you to run a little bit something better. But you know, if you don't have a 5-star weapon component, this weapon's decent for Diluc. Not insane, but it does work. It's definitely better than using a freaking prototype Archaic, but definitely not better than the Serpent Spine. So it's like a stopgap weapon for free-to-play players that really want to play Diluc. And then it's good on Sayu and mediocre on Beidou. Okay. Also, there was a version update notice. In the version update notice, just as a really quick overview of this, there was not a lot of interesting things except for the major thing, which was now we're able to use a filter function for 2 artifact affixes. So that's gonna be really fun in 2.5. I just want to give you a heads up on that. And the other thing is that the patch times are gonna be at 6 o'clock UTC. It's gonna take 5 hours. So just normal Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, basically. Primo gems along with it. Abyss floor buffs this time around, if you're thinking about summoning, they're going to be for phase 1. We're getting electro charge damage as well as electro shred on the buff, so you're able to get 40% electro shred on this. So it's kind of, you know, of course, Miko centric. And of course, phase 2 is more for true damage. So basically, you just get true damage whenever you use abilities on enemies. So now it's just more damage on enemies. That's off. New floor 11 is going to get an electro bonus. And all parties getting a healing bonus, so it's basically selling Kokomi and Miko. My chat informed me that I missed and did not talk about the Eye of Perception. Sorry, I forget about garbage weapons. All right, guys, well, that's gonna do this video. My name is Sekapoko. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, of course, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Let me know what you guys think about the trash Eye of Perception in the comment section down below. You have a wonderful rest of your day.